Welcome back to another edition of MazzaonSports. It's Evan Mazza here. We're talking all things New York Mets around Major League Baseball, do some NFL news for today, and of course we have to talk about and preview the game two of the around the NBA playoffs in general after last night and the great performance from Victor Wembanyama, but that unfortunately didn't go the way of the Spurs, even though he had a record-setting day in terms of blocks and assists. But with tonight, and we'll also preview the Knicks. We have to talk about the Knicks tonight against Sixers and their recent dominance in their last couple of postseason games, and if they can continue that or not. But first, we're going to talk about the New York Mets in terms of where they are right now and some of the younger players. And the player that I want to talk about is Carson Benge. Now, the Mets haven't really had a good run of young players, if you want, as of late. If you watch it, you see it. Brett Beatty was a first-round pick from several years ago, and he's been met with inconsistencies, struggling. Last year he showed a lot, but this year not so much. Mark Vientos struggled in 22, or didn't really, kind of was played around a bit in 23. No one really knew where his place was on the team. Then in 24, he pops off and has an amazing year. And then last year, he did hit 17 home runs, but really fell off and struggled. Then you have Francisco Alvarez, who was really good and had a lot of promise after the 2023 season. And then injuries and inconsistencies have bit him. And he has put up better at-bats. His at-bats are better. He is a lot more patient at the plate. But you're still seeing inconsistencies. He's actually currently in a little bit of a slump right now, Alvarez. And you're not seeing him fully take off to the capabilities that you kind of know he is capable of taking off to. It just hasn't happened yet. And then you have someone like Ronnie Mauricio, who just recently fractured his hand or his thumb, I think. He's going to be out for a while. But he's another one that has been in and out, injuries, inconsistencies. But the one thing you're seeing with these guys, and the one word that keeps popping up, is inconsistent and struggling at the plate and struggling on the field. Alvarez has trouble on defense a lot of the time, and sometimes it just drives you crazy with his struggles on defense. Then you have Beatty and Vientos obviously trying to find positions. I think Beatty is best suited for third base, but they put him at second, they put him at third, they put him at first. Vientos just does not look comfortable at all at first base. He's more of a designated hitter, but again, he's got inconsistencies at the plate, and he swings and misses a lot and strikes out a lot. Beatty is striking out a lot this year. Beatty didn't walk for the first time until just a few weeks ago in Chicago. That was like his 63rd or 64th at bat. And that brings me to the most recent Mets young player, even Kodai Senga. Kodai Senga technically, wasn't a rookie who came up from the farm, but he was a rookie, was great in his rookie year, great in 23, and has been struggled, injuries, a mess right now ever since. Was great in the first half last year, got hurt, was never the same. And he started off well the first couple of starts this year, and he hasn't been the same since. And now he's on the IL again. And basically, I don't think it may be a while before we ever see Kodai Senga start a game again for the Mets. If he ever does start a game for the Mets ever again, Kodai Senga, who knows? Then that brings me to the most recent Mets young player. Joey Embiid's not playing tonight? All right, well, then the Knicks should win tonight. If Joel Embiid's not playing tonight, then the Knicks need to win. Then the Knicks should win tonight, game two, but we'll see. The most recent young player for the Mets is Carson Benge. Carson Benge was drafted in 2024. Really the first main David Stearns player, the first main big draft pick player that David Stearns selected. And he's now quickly made his way to the big league level. And he hit a home run opening day. He, I think, got on base a couple of times. He started off with 2 strikeouts in that game, if I remember. And then I should remember, I did a show on it. But struck out first 2 at-bats, but it didn't bother him. He kept going, he kept playing, and he worked a couple of walks and then had a big home run. After that, so things were great opening day, but obviously you then have to play games 2, 3, 4, and 5, and 6, and 7, and 8, and so on. And Benge started to struggle, which again was very, you knew that was going to happen. Carson Benge was going to struggle, obviously. But the Mets have slowly made adjustments to him. His batting stance has been fixed up. If you see, his batting stance is fixed up. He looks a little more comfortable at the plate. And over the last 11 games, he's batting .303, .361, .545 stat, 2 doubles, 2 home runs. Has made a couple of really nice defensive plays, although he stumbled at center field. Now, that's actually one thing I will say. I don't think Carson Benge should ever play center field. I think he's a left fielder and a right fielder. That play the other day, not yesterday, but 2 days ago, where he stumbled at center field, I think I have to put a little bit of that on the coaches for putting him at center field, especially when you had Tyrone Taylor at right field. That's more Tyrone's natural position. I mean, Tyrone could play. The best part about Tyrone Taylor is that he can play every position. When Tyrone Taylor is on the field, and so is Carson Benge, Tyrone should be at center field, Benge should be in right field or left field. That's just my opinion, but Benge has shown some nice. I think Benge we've seen his position clearly be right field, and his bat is starting to come along, and you're seeing the adjustments that he's making pay off. And I think you're seeing Benge and why the Mets drafted him, why David Stern sees in him, and why Benge should be or could be part of that next crop of core players that the Mets have. And obviously the Mets fan base clearly needs a player like that because of the Nimmo trade and Alonso leaving free agency. So the Mets kind of need a player from the farm like Nolan McLean. Obviously McLean really is the top one right now. I don't think he pitches. No, he didn't. No, he pitched the other day, I think. Yeah, he pitched the other day. I have to look to see who pitches today for the Mets, but or tonight. But McLean is the top one, the top young core guy from the farm that Met fans are going to grow attached to. At least guys that come from the minor leagues. Benge, I think, is going to be the other one. And the big question that's going to come along is, what does he end up being a Beatty? Does he end up being a Vientos, a Mauricio, and Alvarez, where you see the glimpses of the talent, but it doesn't show up consistently? Here's why I think it will be different. And it actually has nothing to do with the talent-wise. It has everything to do with confidence. Alvarez, you can see it gets to him sometimes. He breaks the bat. He throws around. You can see his struggles get to him. Vientos is the same thing. Beatty, I think, is the same thing. With Benge, nothing phases him. I mean, Benge was really struggling for the first couple of weeks of the season, and you kind of saw it didn't really phase him. He still had the same attitude, same determination, same smile, same grit, same attitude. He was very even keel, very level. Nothing was too easy or hard for him. And he adjusted and he worked, and you're seeing it now recently pay off again. Is he going to struggle again? Oh yeah, probably, definitely. But I think that's why it gives you confidence, or at least it gives you confidence that this one will be different compared to some of the other younger players that have come up. And that's what the Mets need. The Mets, and a lot of this falls on David Stearns as well. The Mets are going to have to find the next crop of young core players from the farm to build off for the next 7 to 10 years, because Francisco Lindor is not going to be here forever. Juan Soto obviously signed for 15 years, but he does have an opt-out after year 5, I think. Obviously, you have veterans like Bichette. I know he's out with injuries, but Polanco and Robert and such. Freddie Peralta's on a 1-year deal. Devin Williams, who knows what his future will be with the Mets, if there is a future for him on any big league team at this point, if he continues to struggle. But right now, your 2 future guys for the Mets, guaranteed to be here, or at least you hope, the hope is for the next decade, is Nolan McLean and Carson Benge, with other guys like A.J. Ewing coming into form. And Ewing is having a great AAA right now. But Benge, I think in terms of the everyday guys, has to kind of lead that new crop. It's clear, I think, that the Mets need a new crop of young talent because we've now seen about 5 years of Alvarez, Mauricio, Vientos, and Beatty. Like they both kind of came off like Vientos, Alvarez, and Beatty. Beatty obviously got cut short due to injuries, but we all saw in 22, but we all saw them together in 22 in some capacity. Obviously, Alvarez was the last 3 games of the season, so he kind of doesn't really hardly count, but I'll count him. But they've been together, Alvarez, Vientos, and Beatty, and recently and Mauricio in 23 for the better part of the last 3 to 4 or 5 years. So we're kind of know who they are at this point. We kind of know who they are at this point. Alvarez is a big power hitting guy who shows great potential at the plate, but there is still too many inconsistencies and he's shown great, like I said, great patience, but there's still too much inconsistencies. And his defense still needs a lot to be desired, I think. Beatty, great last year, but other than that, not so much. Vientos, great in 24. Other than that, not so much. Mauricio has great power, but he's too much free swinging. Pitch selection's not there. Defense is kind of spotty at shortstop and such. And now this is once again, he's been hurt. A couple of years ago, he missed a year due to a hamstring or torn ACL, from winter ball. And now he's out with a hand fracture. So, and remember, they traded for Luis Angel Acuna, and then they shipped him off for Luis Robert. So the Mets are going to have, the next crop. It's McClain, it's Benge, it's AJ Ewing, it's Ryan Clifford, Morabito, so-and-so, all those guys. Those are the ones that are going to come up and be that next crop of players that the Mets and the fans can build around and grow their attachment towards. So, and I think Benge is going to have to be part of that leadership, be part of the lead of that. And I think what gives you confidence in Benge in that he'll be better, it will be better than the last 4, is that he's very even keel and he's confident in his abilities and he knows he's a talented player. And I think it's very encouraging to see Benge start to play a little bit better and start to hit a little bit better the way he has the last 11 games. So, and I think so far in what has been a very frustrating and very trying and very struggling year for the New York Mets is Carson Benge and Nolan McClain. Those are the 2 big positives. Yeah, Juan Soto has played well so far this year, but Benge and McClain are really the 2 big positives right now. And I think that's kind of fitting because the Mets really need younger players built up from the farm to kind of take the spots that were left over from Brandon Nimmo and Pete Alonso. And so for the fans who need someone to grow attached to, they can start growing attached to them. Now, again, we're not even really into 1 full year. McClain only had about 8 starts or so last year, or 10 starts. And now this is really his first full rookie season and Benge's first rookie season. We'll see where each of them are come September at the end of the season. But these are the guys that are going to have to be built up and developed throughout the season for you to get confidence in for the Mets' future. And it starts with McClain, but it especially starts with Carson Benge. So I've been impressed with him so far. I've been very impressed with Nolan McClain. There are some nitpicks here and there with him, but I've been very impressed with Nolan McClain so far. But I've been also very impressed with Carson Benge and seeing him adjust to the struggles that he had. And he's starting to show some positive. He's starting to hit better. His defense in right field is starting to show. I mean, he still made a good play at center field the other day, even with the stumbling and fall. But you're starting to see positives with Benge. I just like the fact that he gives the Mets a good at bat, and he also has confidence in himself. He's not too high, he's not too low, keeps things even keel, and he's confident in his abilities. And I think that gives you some form of positivity for Benge in his future with the Mets. But we'll see as the season goes on. But that's just my observation with Carson Benge so far through his first month of his rookie campaign. Speaking of the first month of the season, let's go through the first month of the season with around Major League Baseball. And pretty much the American League is a couple of teams, 2 really good teams, and a lot of mediocre. You have the Yankees, and you have the Yankees, to no surprise of anybody. They have maybe the best pitching staff in baseball right now. And then you have the Tampa Bay Rays, who I don't think anybody expected to be that good. I mean, but then again, this is the Rays. They're 24-12 right now. They're only a game out of first place. The Yankees have had such this great start. They just completed a 4-game sweep of the Orioles over the weekend. They're off to this outstanding start, and yet the Rays are right on their tail because they've been just as good. Will it hold for the Rays? I don't know, but the Rays are doing everything that they usually do when they succeed. High batting average, a team 258 batting average, and a good OBP. They're 10th in baseball with a 328 OBP. That's usually what and they pitch really well. That's usually, and the funny thing is their bullpen has been banged up with injuries. The Rays. But how do they continuously do it? Pitching. And they're 4th in all of baseball in pitching. They're, again, right behind the Yankees, or closer. The Yankees have baseball's top ERA, right with the Dodgers and the Braves. But the Rays are 4th in all of baseball in pitching. That's how they're doing it. Get on base, good batting average, and pitch. And again, their bullpen's banged up with injuries. But they get good starting pitching, and they get good hitting, or at least good consistent hitting. That's the Tampa Bay Ray way. That's how the Rays win. They get on base, they hit for average, and they pitch really well. It's surprising, yes, to see the Rays succeed the way they are, but that's just who they are. When they succeed, that's who they are. And they've built a really good culture and structure there since 2008. But it's the Yankees, it's the Rays, and then the next best team after that is the Athletics, who are 18-17. The entire American League, aside from those two teams, very mediocre. Very mediocre. And obviously the surprise of everyone is, I think for me especially, is the Boston Red Sox. 15-21. They fired Alice Cora. They're probably the biggest surprise to me in terms of disappointments. The Tigers recently just lost Terry Skubal for a while for a loose body injury. The Mariners are 17-20, playing below 500. The Rangers are 16-19, playing below 500. The Astros are 15-23 right now. Then you have the National League. The Phillies have picked it up ever since the firing of Rob Thompson. Will that hold? I don't know, but they're now in second place in the NL East. The Braves are, who's surprised? I said it last year. At the end of last season that the Braves would bounce back and have a great year. And look what they're doing. They're bouncing back and they're having a great year. Now, they lost Ronald Acuna due to an injury. Again, they will be without Ronald Acuna. But they have now gone a while with no Ronald Acuna, and they are used to playing without him, but he's back, but he suffered another injury. It's just a shame that with a hamstring injury, it's just a shame that a great player like Ronald Acuna is just continuously banged up with injuries now. It just feels like it's almost like the Mike Trout thing, right? Like Trout has had this amazing Hall of Fame career, but there could have been more, and there should have been more if he would have stayed healthy. And it's also partly with his greatness, Ken Griffey Jr. I think we're starting to see the same thing with Ronald Acuna. Amazing player, Hall of Fame talent. Don't know if he's a Hall of Famer yet now, but if he would have retired today, but he's a great Hall of Fame talent that we may not see his full potential because of the injuries. It's a shame. But the Braves are doing it with good pitching. Their offense has been better than it was a year ago. The Cubs have been great. They've been fantastic at home at Wrigley Field. The Cardinals, look at the Cardinals. Ladies and gentlemen, stop quitting on the St. Louis Cardinals. Stop writing off the St. Louis Cardinals. Stop writing them off. Every single time we write off the St. Louis Cardinals, they have a season like this. The St. Louis Cardinals always prove a lot of doubters wrong. They are 24-21-15. They are probably the biggest surprise of the entire league right now, the St. Louis Cardinals. And it's what they do best. I can never, ever doubt the St. Louis Cardinals, even when they're bad. Even when the Cardinals are bad, I can never doubt them. Will this record last? Who knows? But they constantly do this. Wouldn't surprise me if they made the playoffs this year. Wouldn't surprise me because they're the freaking Cardinals. Will they? I doubt it because I still think the Reds are better and I still think Milwaukee's better. But who's surprised at this point when you see the Cardinals playing good baseball? And the National League West, pretty much what we expected. The Dodgers are great, even though they're still battling injuries and Mookie Betts and such. And the Padres are playing good baseball. The Diamondbacks are kind of still in the mix, and the Giants, you know, the Giants again. I'm not surprised that they're struggling. They keep running it back and trying to run it back, and it keeps not working. So, I think the biggest takeaway right now through the first month of the season is basically this: the American League has got two great teams and a whole bunch of mediocre, while the National League is loaded as usual. You got the Dodgers, you got the Padres. I still think the Cubs. You still got the Cubs and Brewers. We'll see about the Reds and the Cardinals. The Braves are bouncing back. We'll see if the Phillies can get back into this. And Lord help the fans in Queens and New York and us Met fans if the Mets can get back in this. But we'll see. But the National League, regardless, is still more well-loaded and more well-rounded than the American League is. The American League right now is a mess. It's a mess. It's the Yankees, it's the Rays, and who knows? The Tigers, I think they're better than that, but now they just lost Skubal. The Royals, they continue to underachieve. The Mariners are underachieving. The Astros are way underachieving. The Rangers are underachieving. The Red Sox are very much underachieving. The American League is one or two teams, and the National League is loaded with great teams and talent, along with underachieving teams like the Mets. So that's kind of where we are right now. It's not exactly definitive. It's only been 1 month. It is a nightmare in Flushing. It's only been 1 month of the year. Who knows where it will be a month from now, 2 months from now, 3 months. It is a long 162 game season, but that's where we are right now through the first month of the season. That's just where we are. We'll see where we are at the All-Star break. That's going to be the first real diameter. Where will we be at the All-Star break? A couple of NFL news things I want to touch on before we get to the Knicks a little quickly. The Baltimore Ravens re-signed Calais Campbell, or brought him back, I should say. So what does that mean? Like, as soon as I saw the news that the Ravens re-signed Calais or brought back Calais Campbell, what does that mean? Well, the first thing I thought of was Nnamdi Madubuike. What does that mean for him? Now, there was a report right before the draft that he had neck surgery, and the expectation was that he could play. Not that he will, but that the doctors thought he could play, that he could resume playing this season. Now, getting Calais Campbell could mean a couple things. It could be many things. And that's why I think signing Campbell is a good insurance policy for the Ravens. Because, yeah, he's 40 years old. Yeah, he's a veteran. He's about to play his 19th season. He did have 6.5 sacks for the Cardinals last season, but he is 40 years old. But it is a good insurance policy for a couple of reasons. First reason, if Madubuike is not ready to begin the season or play to start the season, then Calais Campbell starts for him. If Madubuike does have to miss the entire season, then Campbell starts in his place for the entire season. If Madubuike does start week 1 and he's there week 1, then Campbell is right there and he can come in rotation. You can even use Campbell to kind of slow Madubuike, kind of take it 1 minute, 1 day at a time, one play at a time for Madubuike. Don't really rush him in. So, or if Madubuike is full go, if they're fully confident in him and he is full go, then Campbell can just show up on third downs and get after the quarterback in rotation. So I think it's a good insurance signing and a good insurance policy, regardless of Madubuike and where he will be. There is still uncertainty. We still don't really know exactly what's the status of Madubuike is, but signing Campbell is a good insurance policy for the Ravens. And again, he's a good locker room guy. Team players love him. The team loves him. The organization loves him. He's highly regarded around the NFL. So signing Calais Campbell, I just think, is a good, smart veteran insurance policy move by the Baltimore Ravens. And yeah, it adds to the defensive line. So again, you can't really complain about that. But as soon as I signed him, I immediately thought of Nnamdi Madubuike and what this meant for him. So if he plays, Campbell can come in, line up next to him, and rotation, play third down. If Madubuike isn't ready, then Campbell can start. So I think getting Campbell was a good move. The Giants signed DJ Reader. They made a pair of defensive line signing Shelby Harris and signing DJ Reader, obviously, with the trade of Dexter Lawrence. I don't think we got into that. I thought it was a good, smart move by the Giants. Maybe we did, but I thought it was a good, smart move by the Giants. Dexter Lawrence was clearly didn't want to be there anymore. He clearly was frustrated with front office, frustrated with Joe Shane, frustrated with ownership. So, and that dated back all the way to the end of the 24 season and into 2025 training camp. So, and he had a really bad down season. And so he wanted a paycheck, but he also, I felt like, just wanted out. I think he just wanted out of the Giants, and the Giants, I think, did him right by trading him to a contending team, or at least a hopeful contending team in the Cincinnati Bengals that are trying to improve their team, trying to get better. And they trade him to a place where he could prove himself, he could play well, he can have a bounce back year, and be an anchor on a defense that really needs him to be an anchor. And the Giants ended up getting the 10th overall pick, and what they do with the 10th overall pick, they got Francis CC Manoa, and he will now block at right guard and protect Jackson Dart, their investment. And the Giants also parlay some of the money that they didn't use for Dexter Lawrence on a contract to get Shelby Harris and now DJ Reader to help solidify a defensive line that really needs some reinforcements to at least help stop the run, to go along with their front. So I thought that was a good, smart move by the Giants as well, in terms of signing DJ Reader and signing Shelby Harris, and using that trade for Dexter Lawrence. They did it before the draft. It wasn't a draft distraction. The Bengals get a good player. The Giants got the 10th pick, and they used it to give Jackson Dart protection on the offensive line. So, but they went and got DJ Reader just yesterday to add to that defensive line. And the Jets had Russell Wilson in for a visit. This is the one I really wanted to talk about. So the Jets brought in Russell Wilson for a visit. Now, Russell Wilson said today he's debating whether to take the Jets offer or to take a TV deal and go into TV for at least the season, be a broadcaster. Am I crazy to think that Russell Wilson would be a better starter for the Jets than Geno Smith? Am I crazy to say that? Maybe I am, but I feel like Russell would be better than Geno Smith. I just feel like he would be. Look, the Jets are not going to win many games this season, regardless of who's the quarterback. Could be Russell, could be Geno, could be anybody. It doesn't matter. The Jets are just not going to win a lot of games this season. But in terms of who can give you more of a competitorship and competitiveness, I think it's Russell more than Geno. But that's just me. Maybe that's just my Russell Wilson nostalgia from Seattle kicking. But I just feel like, but again, neither of them are particularly great options. I think bringing in Russell would help out the Jets just to give a veteran presence in the quarterback room to go along with Geno. Plus, him and Geno Smith have a good relationship in Seattle. Geno has spoken very highly of Russell Wilson, how much Russell helped him out in Seattle. But I think if the Jets do end up signing Russell and Russell takes the Jets deal, I think he's better off as the Jets starter than Geno is. So I'm interested to see if Russell Wilson ends up as a Jet. I'm interested to see. So then we can add Russell Wilson to the list of quarterbacks that were really good in their primes and days, and even won Super Bowls, who have now ended the Jets, who have then donned the Jets uniform. I mean, let's see. Let's count them, right? Let's see. Boomer Esiason was a former MVP and went to a Super Bowl. Let's see. Of course, I have to mention Joe Flacco had a really good had a really good career in Baltimore. Won a Super Bowl. Won a lot of games. Took the Browns to the playoffs. He was a Jet quarterback at one point. Let's see. Michael Vick was a Jet quarterback at one point. Of course, I got to mention Brett Favre, Hall of Famer, was a Jet quarterback. Of course, I have to mention Aaron Rodgers was the quarterback a couple of years ago and future Hall of Famer. I can go on and on and on and on about all these former quarterbacks who had great years with other teams who then became Jet quarterbacks. Russell Wilson would just be the latest. He would just be the latest. A guy who had a great run in Seattle, and years later, he is a Jet quarterback. So I would love to see that visual of Russell Wilson in a Jet uniform. Sam Darnold was started off with the Jets. But yes, I see what you mean. But he started off with the Jets. He's now a Super Bowl champion. So, and congratulations to Sam. I love Sam. But I'm talking guys who had great prime, great heydays elsewhere, who then eventually ended up in green and white. But I do think seriously, Russell Wilson is better off than Geno, but maybe I'm crazy for thinking that. I don't know. But I'm interested to see where that goes. And if Russell Wilson does go to a TV deal and he goes, I actually think he could be all right as a broadcaster. I do have to say, and I wrote this on Twitter, it would be a sad end to Russell Wilson's career. Well, Vinny, yes, Vinny was a journeyman before. I think Vinny Testaverde is an interesting one. I'm glad you brought up Vinny Testaverde. Vinny's an interesting one because Vinny was a journeyman quarterback before he went to the Jets. Vinny is more established as a Jet. Now, he was a Pro Bowl quarterback in Baltimore, and obviously he was a number one draft pick, first ever quarterback in Ravens history, by the way. And he was a number one overall pick in Miami. But Vinny established himself more as a Jet quarterback. He didn't really make a true name. Yes, he did take the Browns to the playoffs, but he was a journeyman quarterback. Bucks, Browns, Ravens. I would say the team he really established himself of and the team that he is most known for was with the Jets. And Vinny was only a Jet for, 98 to 2002, 98 to 2002. 2003, 98 to 2003. That was his run with the Jets, first run, and then he came back in 2005 midseason. So he's more well established as a Jet quarterback. But Vinny's an interesting point though. That's an interesting one. And I have a Vinny Testaverde jersey. I grew up with Vinny Testaverde as the Jets quarterback, and I love him. But that's an interesting one. But he became more of he set himself up as a Jet quarterback in his NFL career. Even though he took the Browns to the playoffs and won a playoff game, even though he was he was the first ever Ravens quarterback, and he was a Pro Bowl quarterback in Baltimore in 96. He did establish himself more as the Jet quarterback for the success in 98, his run in 2001, and then eventually, paving way for Chad Pennington and molding Chad Pennington when he eventually became the starter. So, and coming back in 2005 and winning a game, off the couch. So against the Bucks, I remember that, but I like Vinny Testaverde had a very fascinating, interesting career. One of the more fun quarterback careers in NFL history. Not a Hall of Famer, but certainly Hall of Good. Even though he did throw a lot of interceptions, but that was just his style. That was just who he was. A lot of those picks, of course, came in Tampa Bay when the Bucs were just horrible. But speaking of the Bucs, if you ever go watch the Buccaneer documentary, go watch it. It's really good. But yeah, if Russell were to join the TV and retire, it would be a sad end to his career, in my opinion. Russell, to me, still, regardless of how people feel about him, whether they think he's corny and such, and his run with the Steelers or Broncos and Giants, I think Russell Wilson should be remembered for how good he was with Seattle. Man, was he good. And he's one of the better quarterbacks of the 2010s. That's something to write, especially in the era of quarterback where everyone's throwing for 5,000, 35, 40 touchdowns. Russell Wilson is among the top quarterbacks of the 2010 decade. And I think as some time passes, when his career does eventually end, if it does end here, I think that's what he should be remembered for being one of the better quarterbacks of a decade. Hall of Famer? I know that's been debatable for some of the last few years, but I certainly still think his case is very damn solid. He went to 2 Super Bowls and he won a Super Bowl. He was among MVP conversations year after year, especially in a couple of certain years. I know people don't really like the Pro Bowl nowadays, but the Pro Bowl is a good thing to have on your resume, and the man went to 10 of them. So, and he did take the Steelers to the playoffs just a few years ago, regardless of how that ended. So Russell's had a really damn good career. We'll see if he's warranted for the Hall of Fame. I know Eli Manning right now is the big topic of conversation for Hall of Fame quarterbacks. He's the big topic right now. But I think Russell deserves to be remembered for being a really, really good quarterback. Regardless of how we feel about his ending, the man was still really, really good. Go back and watch him in those 2010s. Go back and watch some of that Russell Wilson Seattle tape. He was really friggin' good. So tonight is game 2 of the NBA playoffs between the New York Knicks and the Philadelphia 76ers. The New York Knicks My goodness, have they hit a heater over the past couple of games. 137-98 in game 1 over the 76ers, 140-89 in game 6 against the Hawks, 126-97 in game 5 against the Hawks. They're on a heater. And will it continue today? Who knows? But again, no Joel Embiid tonight. Thank you for that. Thank you for that information. Appreciate it. This is where the Knicks have to take over. This is where this Eastern Conference is right there for the taking. There's no Boston to beat them. They've taken game 1 from Philadelphia. No Joel Embiid tonight. No Embiid tonight. But this is their opportunity. This has been their Eastern Conference to win really the entire season. Tatum being hurt in Boston, Halliburton not playing at all for the Pacers. This has been their Eastern Conference the entire way. This is it. If the Knicks are going to get to the finals, I said it before the season started, me and many others, we all did, and it's more true now here as the playoffs have hit the second round. This is it. If you're going to get to the finals, this is the year. Will they win? I don't think anybody's stopping Oklahoma City. I don't think anybody's stopping that juggernaut. Denver got knocked out by Minnesota. I think that will be a competitive series between Minnesota and San Antonio. I think OKC is going to roll over the Lakers, to me, in my opinion. But the NBA Finals runs through OKC. They could very well cruise to the championship, to the NBA, to their second consecutive title. But in terms of just getting to the finals, this is it for the Knicks. The path is right there. The path is right there for the Knicks. And ever since that horrible game 4, and ever since that horrible game 2 and 3, or game 2 and game 4, where they blew that lead against the Hawks at the Garden, and they lost game 4, this is the Knicks. I mean, there was all this talk about Bridges, all this talk about Mikal Bridges, all this talk about OG Anunoby. Game 3, all this talk about OG Anunoby, all this talk about Mikal Bridges, all this talk about KAT, and the Knicks have responded incredibly well. They need to continue that. Will they win every game? Of course not. But tonight they need to win at the Garden. And I think, tonight they need to win at the Garden, but also throughout the rest of these playoffs. It's right there for them. It's right there. It's right there. Brunson is playing great as usual. They've got great production out of OG, great production out of Towns. And if you're Mike Brown, this is exactly what you wanted to see. And all of a sudden, hey, look how much difference a week makes. A week ago, Mike Brown was fired. A week or so ago, Mike Brown was fired and done. But now things have changed. Now, could things change a week from now? Of course they could, especially if they lose tonight with no Embiid on the floor. But the path is there for the Knicks. Path is right there. And it continues tonight for the Knicks. It continues tonight. They have to form a path forward. But the Sixers are tough. Watch out for Maxey with no Embiid even. Watch out for Maxey. But the path is there for the Knicks. If they want to get to the finals, this is it. If they want to get to the finals, this is it for the Knicks. You might not get another clearer path to the finals than this year. So tonight but it continues tonight at game 2. Continues tonight with game 2 for the Knicks. So that'll about do it today for Mazzaon Sports. Thank you guys so much for tuning in and watching. I greatly appreciate it. I will be back on Monday afternoon, I still have yet to talk wrestling, but I'll give you my quick opinion on WrestleMania 42. I thought night 1 sucked. And I thought night 2 was solid with a fantastic main event between CM Punk and Roman Reigns. Backlash is coming up this Saturday. I like that number, plus 500. Again, it's right there for the Knicks, right there. We'll talk Backlash on Monday, a little bit of it. I guess I'll do my quick picks. I think Roman Reigns will retain, but we'll see. I mean, this whole thing with him in the June, and who knows? But I think Roman Reigns retains. I think CM Punk will be Danhausen's partner. Let's see what are the other ones. I think Io Sky will beat Asuka, and I think Seth Rollins will beat Braun Breaker. Is there a fifth match? I don't think there is. I don't think there's a fifth match on the card. I think it's just 4 right now. Oh no, there is 5. Trick Williams and Sami Zayn. I think Trick Williams retains the title. So that's my quick Backlash predictions. But we'll be back on Monday afternoon. Talk more about the Knicks. Talk more about the NBA playoffs. Talk more Knicks. Talk more about around Major League Baseball. So that'll be Monday afternoon, and any other news that comes out, that'll be Monday afternoon. I greatly appreciate you guys for tuning in. Thank you so much for tuning in, listening, Folklore. I greatly appreciate it. Have yourselves a great day. Have yourselves a great week. I'll see you guys on Monday, and please take care.